Hello everyone!
Hello.
And welcome to this dev stream with, here we have today Mathieu, who is the creative director. We have Xavier, the game director.
Hello.
Karim, who is joining us today, is the technical director, and myself, the community lead. I hope that the audio level is all good. By the way, please let us know in the chat if there's any issue regarding the audio, but otherwise, well, we're here today to talk about the new update that we have announced, which is passing from 2014 rule set to 2024, which has been a long discussion. I know a lot of people have been asking us about it for the longest time, and we couldn't really communicate too much on that, right? Mathieu, can you give us a little bit of information about why it took us so long to talk about it?
So, first of all, I've been a huge fan of 5th edition since 2014, and paradoxically, even though I'm an old man, it's one of the editions I've played the most. So the idea that the designers wanted to improve this edition, to make it slightly better, was very interesting for us. It's something we wanted to do. The thing is, we don't do a full D&D game with an official license for Wizards of the Coast, so we use the SRD, the System Reference Documents, and we had to wait for such document release to make sure that we would have the necessary content to make an actual game with it.
Yeah.
So this document was released a month and a half ago.
Yeah, in April, end of April.
So we were really jump starting, ready to start as fast as possible. We read the free rules on D&D Beyond, and actually we were really happily surprised by the fact that are we okay?
Yeah, well,
yeah. Happily surprised by the fact that 2024 in the SRD had more stuff than what we expected.
Yeah.
Which really good news.
Yeah.
And then we can speak a bit more about the detail, what's new, why it's so cool. But,
yeah.
I'll let you.
That's actually one of the questions that I wanted to ask. For those who are wondering why we're so confused, is because a lot of people are spamming N tilde in the chat, and I'm not really sure why. But anyway, we're going to be moving on. So yeah, now that we've talked about how...
I think it's for the Spanish.
The Spanish translation? Oh yeah, I know a lot of you are asking us for Spanish translation. Just to remind you guys, what we've said so far is that we are considering a lot of different languages for translation, but in the early access, we may have to be very limited in our selection. So we cannot guarantee that there will be Spanish during the early access. But once we are moving on from early access to 1.0, it is more likely that we'll be looking at more languages out there. So yeah, going back to the rule set, the 2024 rule set. So we've already said that it took us some time, but we finally decided to do the 2024 rule set. What's the main reason? Why are we moving on to 2024? You said it was an upgrade, we updated things.
I think the main reason is because it's cool. Actually, it's interesting and there's lots of new options. So I've read some of the discussions before we started the stream. Mm-hmm. And when I first browsed and read the Players Handbook 2024, I thought they were just minor changes. Then we started a new campaign with Xavier and others, and discovered that there were actually more stuff that changed.
Yeah.
And right now, I'm in the process of porting all the existing classes to 2024.
Yeah.
And just now I realize how different it is. It's lots of many options, and basically it's more choices for the users. Mm-hmm. It's more opportunity to have all the classes have a bit of spells and customization options for the weapons, masteries, etc.
Yeah.
So it's really cool for a player because it gives you more option to make the character as you want. You have backgrounds giving feats, origin feats. So it's I think it's really interesting. And for example, yesterday I was developing the steady aim power for the rogue. It's a new stuff, and I find it very interesting to be able to have a sneak attack with advantage on a ranged target like an archer or a spellcaster, and it's really a way to choose the right strategy at the right moment through customization of characters and also in combat when you have to make decisions.
I see one question from Tom that we're going to take as we are Because like the questions disappear very fast. We have like both the YouTube and the Twitch chat just flying around. So Tom is asking, is the passage to 2024 putting multiclassing at risk?
No, it will have no consequences. I would say that I was not a big fan of multiplayer 5e. So
multiclassing.
Multiclassing,
yeah.
sorry. For 5e because I thought subclasses were doing that just fine. It's one of the third thing we did for Solasta II, analytic multiclass, and there's basically no difference between 2014 and 2024.
Yeah.
It's the same system with the cumulative spell slots when you have several casting classes, so it's already working. And actually, in the demo that we released in February, Nera was actually a multiclass character, fighter, and cleric.
Yes. So basically, because we had so many people asking for multiclassing in Solasta 1, we've already decided that we would try to do that for Solasta 2, even before we moved on to 2024. So there's no reason for us to like move back to that. And also, regarding the classes, there was also one question being, are we going to have all 12 classes to 1.0? This is something that we haven't confirmed so far because we are moving on as we're working. So we're trying our best to implement all the classes for 1.0. For early access, we have already said we would be implementing 6 classes. The early access will launch with the wizard, the sorcerer, the fighter, the rogue, the cleric, and the paladin. Yes, the paladin. So those are the 6 at the start of early access. We may be releasing more during updates or at 1.0. So hopefully we can get all of them because that's the plan, right? That's really what we're trying to do. But we can never like guarantee in the future that, at the end of the day, we don't want like a class to be released and that doesn't work, right? So, okay. And so many questions. Actually, I'm going to jump on one question that we have prepared for a bit later, but I will turn to Karim, who is our technical director on that. There's a few people who've been asking, hey, can we have a toggle in the settings for 2024 rule set or 2014 because like maybe they're not too much of a fan of the 2024?
Yeah, that's something we've discussed internally a lot. But basically, we had to come to the conclusion that it would basically mean developing 2 games at the same time because changes are very impactful, as Mathieu said, in the character creation. But even when playing the game, it changes. The UI cannot react the same, so you need to have 2 UIs. Even some
monsters spell casting do not work the same way.
So you would have to make 2 AIs and 2 game systems, and that's just something we cannot take on being a small team. So we decided to go with 2024 as our game.
And bouncing back on one of the comments, I think one of the praises we had for Solasta 1, it was like the perfect tutorial to learn how to play D&D and then to go to tabletop with friends and to play with the pen and paper. Yeah. And I guess maybe it would be one of the ambitions as well for us to be like the perfect tutorial for the 2024 rule set.
Yeah. You have to remember that we just said that we don't even, we cannot even guarantee at the moment that we'll have all the 12 classes. So promising a switch between 2024 and 2014 when we aren't even sure that we can get all the core things that we want to add in the game, that would be a little bit too optimistic. So if anything, and if we would have said yes, you might have been a bit suspicious on that. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and ask a few questions for our team here. First of all, what is one of the most exciting things that one of the things you're most excited to add to Solasta 2 from 2024 rule set? Mathieu, if you want to start, what's the one thing that you're adding to Solasta 2 from the 2024 that you're this is really something nice?
I think weapon masteries are really cool for the martial classes. Especially, it's easy to change in the long rest, so you can really change the customization. I saw his line because he's playing a rogue in our campaign. She's using a short sword, short bow.
Oh, short sword and dagger, because obviously with
Vex and Nick.
Vex and Nick, exactly.
Okay.
Nicknames for these guys.
Karim, what about you?
I think I'm very excited to get into the new sorcerer the whole theme of kind of magical barbarian with magical rage or the equivalent. I think it's an idea that's worth playing around, and I can't wait to try it out in the game.
Yeah, it's actually very interesting because we've always had this complaint from a lot of D&D players in the past saying that, hey, sorcerer and wizard are very, very close one to another. Their spell list is also very much shared, and they feel like even the meta magic that was sorcerer's thing slowly could be obtained through feats and all that kind of thing. So sorcerer were kind of losing their identity to wizards, and the fact that they get some kind of like super rage and super magic mode where their DC increases and all that kind of thing makes it so that it's more like we're getting back to wizard have a lot of spells and they have a lot of variety, where sorcerers when they cast spells, those spells are stronger. And also we have like new sorcerer only spells like sorcerer burst and all that kind of thing, as Anko is saying in the comments. There's two things that I saw in the chat that I want to answer. First of all is the early access release date. This is something we haven't released yet, and it was in the small print in the text today that it was not about the early access release date, even though I know you're all waiting for it. Just know that we're still aiming for 2025, like we've said before, so that hasn't changed. We're working very hard to get 2024 rule set inside our game, but it's not at the cost of pushing it back 2 years or whatever. And another question I see was about consoles. So we have started looking at the consoles and all that kind of thing, but know that for early access at least there's no plan for consoles. We are going to be looking at consoles for 1.0, maybe post-launch, hopefully 1.0, right? But this time,
Still, just one point what we can say is that we did not burn any chips for the console, so the game is playable with the gamepad just as with the mouse and keyboard. The user interface is meant to be displayed on smaller screens, even a handheld device. So we really don't want to make decisions which prevent us to do in the future the console versions.
That's actually a very good point. In Solasta 1, one of the struggle we had was the game was first developed for PC, right? Because it was our first game, we couldn't really plan ahead to make it console friendly and everything. It wasn't even a single player game, right? So we actually decided to make it porting it to console, so we had to struggle with the UI, the gamepad command and all that kind of thing. And then we decided to do multiplayer at the end of the day, even though we said we wouldn't. So Karim here had to stretch his head and find ways to make it work. And I know that there's still some people that have issues, but it's we were trying our best on a single player, base. And all of this is actually something that made us think about Solasta 2 when we started working on it. And now the base is already ready for multiplayer and console, even though it doesn't mean that it will be appearing super fast. It will mean that when we decide to do that, it will be a little bit less painful. All right, so moving on with another question is one of the things that you're implementing from the 2024 rule set, which is the most painful at the moment. And I know that, Mathieu, you have a lot, right? Because you're in the middle of it.
So I was checking the comment on Xavier's t-shirt. Sorry, what was your question again?
Yes. So I was asking, what is one of the most painful thing that you're implementing at the moment from the 2024 rule set? What?
There's some elements in the game. For example, there's so I'm going to use my cheat documents, but for the fighter, for example, there's this power, the tactical mind, which allows you to, when you fail an ability check, to reward it by spending a second win, which is basically cool to use second win uses for other stuff. But we think, maybe it would be annoying for the player every time he or she fails an ability check to have this pop-up, do you want to use tactical mind? So we made a slight change. You get an advantage to ability check. No, a bonus 1d10 bonus for 1 minute. So we've been generous, and we're going to try it. If you don't like it, then maybe we can come back to pop up later on.
That's actually one of the good point here is.
Thank you.
I mean, early access is also meant for that, right? we have tried things in early access in Solasta 1. Some were actually welcome changes, some were not so welcome changes. And that's also one of the point, right? Like, we're not saying that we're going to land everything perfect at the first go, and that's why you guys are here as well, to tell us, okay, this change you made, not too much of a fan, right? This is actually okay, this not so much. So we are going to be changing a few things to make it so that, like Mathieu said, one of the things we are very careful of nowadays is trying to make it so the player doesn't get spammed by, you know, things that happen.
Especially in multiplayer, it can really
Yes.
break the flow, so we want to limit it.
Yeah, it's like
But
you.
again, if it's really super important to have tactical mind as a pop-up, yeah, we can discuss it.
Yeah. Yeah, because like you have to imagine that like if you move your party through like a place and suddenly there's like, I don't know, like a perception check, suddenly there's a pop-up, do you want to use? Oh, it's okay. Then you're clicking on a statue and you don't know, but there's like a knowledge history check and it's a pop-up again, right? So it's a little bit annoying. Dialogues as well, right? It's like, oh, you're trying to do persuasion, but it's like, oh, you failed, just do you want to...
You failed an insight check.
You failed an insight check, exactly. It's like, okay, yeah. Something's not right here, right?
Many checks.
What about you, Kelly? Like, what is there anything on 2024 also that you're working on that's been a little bit more annoying than you?
I will not say annoying, but something that was interesting was the new way that monsters can use spells as part of an attack. Like they can do multi-attacks and they have 3 attacks and one of them can be a spell, this one or this one.
Yeah.
It made us scratch our collective heads on how to do that, because that's quite a big system change from 2014.
And actually, we had to discuss between us to really make sure we understood the rules, the way it was written. Because the dragons are like the exception with this system, so...
Yeah. So we checked all the monsters and to make sure we have something useful, and now that that's behind us, it's quite cool, it's fun, it's easy to do, it allows a lot of options for AI, because in 2014 we often had the AI want to do an attack, but if they would do so, they wouldn't be able to use spells anymore because they would be in their multi-attack flow, so
Yeah. For those who don't necessarily know the rules very well, in 2014 the spells are like, you know, monsters were using spells kind of like characters. So either you had multi-attack or you cast a spell, you couldn't mix both. In 2024, monsters work very differently from the player characters. Some monsters. So for some monsters, they can mix and match and throw spells and still attack and all that kind of thing. Where like, you know, players, not so much. Yeah. What about you, Xavier? I haven't asked. Is there anything that's like content-wise that like?
Yeah, because I don't really code anything, so we discuss new design topics, but I don't really have problems myself. But on the topic of the ancestries that have changed, like there are no more half-elf, things like that. Since we have prepped this game and the story and the characters for a long time, we have a few headaches changing. This character was supposed to be a half-elf, and it was very important, but now we have to change it, unless we still do half-elves. But we are discussing this.
Yes.
But it's a bit of a mess in terms of this particular.
That's a good point that we have to jump on. If you haven't seen, there is a survey. So the survey link will be like later on if you're following us on Twitter and whatever. I think in like 2 hours there will be like a survey link. Otherwise, you can go to our Steam page. There's like the news, and in the news, there's a survey link. So the reason why I'm talking about the survey is because one of the questions that we have is, with the remaining ancestries, what do you want us to do first? One of the option is half-elves, because as you know, half-elves, half-orcs are no longer part of the 2024 rule set. So that doesn't mean we cannot do them. That doesn't mean we shouldn't do them. But the question is more like, you know, who among you guys still want the half-elf, right? Because if everyone wants half-elf, we're not going to remove them for no reason.
And what we think we shouldn't do is copy the 2014 rules for half-elf.
It's one of the options we're trying to see right now. So like,
okay.
Yeah. So basically, in the options that you'll see in the survey, I'm kind of spoiling the survey, but whatever, right? It's like if we do half-elves, half-orcs, what do you guys want us to do with their design? Like, do we want to adapt to 2014, which is just like, take it and try to just adjust? Do we want to like do a community contest and try to design a new thing? Do we want to just say, hey, half elves is just a visual option, and you can either pick human or elf bonuses? All those things, right? It's like there's.
Or we could redesign them in the spirit of 2024.
Yeah. That's one of the options as well, right?
Contest, yeah.
So it's like right now you will have the option to give us your opinion on that. The thing is, like, I see Barra saying they do not disappear from the multiverse, right? It's just not like snap, they disappear. But considering that we're playing in a new continent, there could be like reasoning where it's like, oh yeah, well, there's like very few half elves, you just don't see them, you cannot play them. But again, like, we have written the story before the 2024 rules that came out and there was no half elves. So we have half elves in the story, we'll see how it works. Okay. That's actually a good question. I think you have an answer, right?
Yes.
There's someone who's asking.
So,
wait. I'm just gonna reread the question because they don't necessarily know since some are on Twitch, some are on YouTube. One person is saying, hey, in multiplayer in Solasta 1, one of the issue was that during other people's turn, you couldn't really do anything, right? Like other people were playing and you were just like waiting for them to play. And he's saying, or they're saying, could you check your inventory, your spells, spell books, etc. in Solasta 2? And
yes, that's something that annoyed me as well when I played through the campaign in multiplayer. So we are trying to handle that a little better this time around, and the plan is that you will still be able to go through, even in solo, basically, through all your characters and see their inventory, their options, try to cast spells to see their ranges. You will never be able to make an action, cast a spell in the end, but you can pre-visualize a lot of things in some kind of preview mode, and that can be done in multiplayer while the others are doing their thing.
Yeah.
And the cool thing is also that you could use this as a way to communicate. So basically, if you start casting a fireball and you put your characters towards the enemies, the other players will see that you're considering this option with the animation and the ongoing recast. And so hopefully that will be much better.
Yeah, and you're saying even in single player, like while it's your fighter's turn to play, you could technically
you can go
pick
check
up
out the wizard and see if you place your warrior your fighter at this spot, will the fireball
hit him. Okay. Yeah.
So you can try to preview things and then go back to the acting character and play their turn.
Yeah. That's actually very, very interesting for the tactical aspect of the game.
It's just absolutely and horribly complex to program.
But she's having headaches on that.
We're having nightmares with all that. The designers are having fun, but
That's cool.
So answering a question from Quest Cools, who's asking, will there be a new demo or an update to the demo that we have already released with the 2024 rule set? I think the answer is no, right?
no, we're still not sure.
So at the moment, you have to know that we are full on to work on the early access to get it out as complete as we can, and having to basically say, hey, Karim, what about the team? Could they just go back to the demo and work like a few weeks on this to make it up to this point? It's like, well, we would rather not. So the demo is still going to stay the same, and it will disappear, I think, at some point, because when we're going to release early access, the demo is no longer going to be representative, right?
Yeah.
It's not the same rule set. There's going to be a lot of changes. Notably, like the cutscenes have been much improved. You'll see in the early access we have someone working on the cutscenes, and they look really, really nice. Okay, so I saw that some people were also concerned that 2024 characters are much more powerful than 2014, which is true, right? We have more options, but we don't have we have to remember that monsters in 2024 are also more powerful, right?
Yeah, sure. And anyway, we can still add more monsters in the same fight if the characters are too powerful. So I think it's just balancing. It's okay. It's easy. Well, it is possible to fix in a way, and it's fun to have powerful characters too.
Yes. So again, early access. One of the good point is you guys give us feedback. Is a combat too complex or too easy? And we can just look at it. And also now we have data tracking, right? Like we know if like too many people are dying to a certain monster, and when that happens, we might be like, okay, let's see what the monster is like doing. Like, why is there people dying? Like, for example, a fun fact is in the demo, one of the most deadly monster was the crab spitter, and we realized was because like it dealt 2d8, I think, instead of 1d6 or something. So it was like, oh, suddenly he deals like half your HP. So when we saw that, it's like, oh, well, you know, maybe it's just because he's ranged or whatever, but you take a look at the data, you take a look at the monster, and you realize, oh, something was not set up right. So, yeah. Yeah, okay. Do we have any other questions? Okay, so I see a question coming back a few times about the 2024 Ranger being bad. So, at the moment, we haven't really given too much of a deep dive into the Ranger, right? Because it's not part of the early access.
No.
But I think at some point we'll take a look at it.
And we don't play a ranger
in the campaign as well. You don't have anyone to complain about it, right? So we're when we get to there, don't worry, we're gonna take a look at it. We're gonna see how it goes. Again, you have to remember that we're also trying to stay as faithful as to the tabletop game as possible. So like we're not gonna change the class completely. Like we're not. If we do changes, it's probably gonna be quality of life stuff that we have done, like in Solasta II, where some of the stuff might be a little bit too like. Sometimes some features are a little bit too. How do we say that?
Well, it can be just annoying, like
annoying or stuff like that, right? It's like okay, well in that case, let's just bundle it together. Okay. So let's see other questions that we have. So one of the things that I'm going to ask while people are asking questions is also what is one of the favorite changes that you personally have between 2014 and 2024?
Okay. What I like, I'm going to say again, is all these small features like the magic initiate or the ability to cast divine smite for free for the paladin. All these small powers which add up to the options of what you can do during your battle. For example, when you have a regular cleric, but if she's a magic initiate of cleric, then you can have cure wounds for free once per day. And it's like adding more and more powers to the characters and based on your choices.
Yeah.
That's what's great. You can select which spell you want to have. And I think there's no end to the builds and the options that the users can do. So when we develop such a new feature, for example, the rule said you can launch it for free, and then with the spell slots, we think, okay, how are we going to manage that? What kind of interaction we have? So we opted for a simple rule. The first time you try to use it for free, if it's no longer available, you use the spell slot, and that's it. At the same time, once you have managed this kind of development roadblock, since this feature is reused many times in the 24 SRD, it's very easy to move on and to implement it all the classes. Then we come to the next roadblock, which is this power, etc.
So your the big change that you love is more customization from smaller blocks, right?
Especially having feats from the start in the background.
Yes.
Having more feats for the human, and the human ancestry is actually interesting. I think.
Yeah, finally, right?
All these possibilities.
From +1 all stat to actually having something that kind of unique. What about you, Xavier? Like, is there one
is
thing?
Difficult to pinpoint, and we discussed the weapon clusters already, and I think it's very interesting to add some tactical choices in battle, even if you don't have spell slots or anything. You can still try to think about something smart to do. We're trying to do that with our new game that we're playing with one character can push someone or put them down, and then I can just jump there and use my sneak attack on this character that is down. And you can really create some new interesting strategies. So I think that's interesting, even though some of them seem still a bit weird to me, but I still have to get used to them.
Yeah.
And I like, I think, as you said, the flexibility you have when you create your character. So I play a Tiefling Rogue, and I have 3 cantrips at level 1 because of this and that and my feet, etc. And I can do a lot of things, much more than I could with my Rogue previous edition. Because yes, I play Rogue all the time. So
Yeah. And you have terrible luck as well. What about you, Karim? You did say that you would like the sorcerer versus anything else.
Yeah, of course. I think my favorite change. Well, I'm gonna parrot what some of you said, but the new character creation, the way the backgrounds fit better in the way you create your character. It's not just some flavor with the feats and the ability increases. But also, I love the way classes feel more distinct. Basically, the sorcerer is just not a lesser wizard. I love sorcerer, but also a fighter. The fighter, the rogue are much more appealing to me now because they have possible complexities like the weapon masteries, the powers, the small stuff everywhere. To me, it makes all classes very interesting, whereas earlier maybe some were a bit hard to commit into for 10 to 15 levels.
Yeah.
I think what is important is that the wizard remains the best class.
Yeah, we have a wizard lover over there.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's Wizard of the Coast, not Sorcerer of the Coast, right? So.
Are we speaking subclasses?
We can speak a bit about subclasses. What are you
maybe
thinking
the
about?
philosophy of what we want to do with them and choices that we make?
I think that might be a little bit vague, but we can talk about subclasses if you want, like at some point. I was just going to, because it's been 30 minutes, and
maybe it can be the topic for a new stream.
Yeah, no, it's a worry. We can talk about that. I see, for example, okay, so in the demo, character dialogue options are only spoken by certain party members. How will that work in multiplayer?
So, it's going to be a bit of the same system as Solasta II, where you will be able to vote. But when you're in multiplayer, everybody gets a vote, and at the end, the answer with the most votes wins.
With the tiebreaker being...
I'm not sure yet. It's probably going to be the server, the host.
Yeah.
But it can be random as well. Something that's changing a lot, though, from Solasta is that a character can have multiple answers. Instead of, in Solasta, you had only one answer per character, so if your character was specialized in, I'm going to say, persuasion and intimidation, they would not get both options, because one would go to the second best character just to spread the answers, but we changed that around what you...
Yeah, what we want to have also is to use much more advantages from various origins, like on this class or I'm this subclass or this ancestry, and that gives me an advantage, so that all characters, even those who don't have a strong skill for dialogues, will get opportunities to shine. And I think that's going to balance this effect that my paladin has all the charisma in the party.
Yeah, he shouldn't be the only one talking.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah. There's a few people saying, okay, you know what? Can I take the SRD thing?
Yes.
And just put it behind, like under the mic, because apparently whenever we touch a table, it does like a lot of vibration.
I have another book.
Yeah. Okay. Let's put the other book on top of the book. Oh, you mean on the SRD?
He wants to keep us up.
Yeah. He doesn't want us to like.
I like to keep it handy.
Yeah, table has a sick bass. Yeah, I know. Sorry about that. We at the moment we don't do a lot of streams, so we don't have like those handy small microphones that you clip on the t-shirt. So there's one microphone, 4 of us. There's a little bit of reverb, but as long as you guys can hear it, it's all good, right? I saw that there was a few questions. First of all, are we going to have a collector's edition? I don't think that right now it's decided, but we haven't done one for Solasta I. So at the moment, nothing planned. And also the question of how much Solasta II is going to be, that's also not going to be answered at the moment, just like the dates. Just know that we don't plan to like have AAA pricing. That's for sure, because we're not AAA. We are a smaller team, 35 people. Was 37 now, I think?
38.
38. Okay, yeah. Well, we do have a few people, notably this cinematic
Artist.
yeah, cinematic artist who joined us. So again, better cinematics game. Actually, talking about a few things now. There's a question being very, very candid here, saying, is there a particular reason that you could get as to why it is necessary for you to stay faithful to the D&D rule set? Mathieu?
Because I've been a fan of D&D for 40 years.
Yeah, at this point.
I've played basically all editions, and for me, maybe I'm a bit anal, I don't know, but I love to stick to the rules and to be exact and to be faithful, because I've seen some bad adaptations in the past, which were disappointing, and to me the best experiences were the first one, I mean the gold box and the very accurate adaptation of D&D at the time. And also there was a motto of philosophy for the studio when it was assembled, which was like we didn't want to adapt D&D into a video game, we wanted to adapt video games into D&D. So it sounds a bit silly, I admit, but it's the spirit is that yes, we're going to try to fit the game in matching the rules instead of just adapting, because that's how games are supposed to be made. So I think we reinvented maybe some solutions which were not used in other games, and we're happy to continue on that road, even though in the end it's a video game, and maybe we want to have more people play, because the game can be more accessible, more eye-candy as well. So we're not making a strictly hardcore game, but there will be option to have the most faithful experience of D&D if you want.
Yeah. Now, one other thing that we have to remember as well is because we've at the table all played D&D, we all know that when you go from a DM to another, there might be new homebrew rules for that table.
Yeah.
So sticking to the core rule makes all those who play D&D at least be aware of what they should expect. And if it's if we homebrew too much on our side, you might come in and you expect this to work that way, and it doesn't work that way. And then it's I don't understand why it doesn't work that way. So it can be frustrating. This is something that we want to avoid, which is why when we make changes, it's mostly quality of life, as in okay, we're going to automate that, right? So you don't have to click 3 times to do the things that you do. It's just going to be automatic.
And I see a very valid point as well, which is a competitive edge to be the only, so far, 2024 faithful adaptation. When we release. Video games make lots of money to build. It takes a lot of money and effort. And yes, we have to sell the game. We have to be competitive. We have to be a commercial success to make sure we can do more of this.
Yeah. There's also very real talk here. It's when we make a game, it's a lot of risk. We have a team that's not that small, right? So
they want to get paid.
They want to get paid, exactly. we want our salary, people. If we don't make money, Mathieu is not paying us salary. So yeah, that's also it answers a few questions that some people might have sometimes, which is why are for Solasta I, why were the new classes pay DLC not included for free? It's because at the end of the day, when you have 30 people working for months in the studio, you have to pay them. So DLCs are a way to sustain that studio from going and from keep on working while we're also gathering money for the next project. So that's also why because I see that coming very often. People asking it's weird. It's a D&D game, and it's So Last of One was much smaller in terms of budget as well. So we couldn't have every single class at first.
The question about the incantations, and yes, there will be audio incantations like in the first game. They have been recorded for the heroes and some NPCs, so they will be in early access.
Yeah, so just to give context for those who didn't really understand this, there was someone asking if we still have spell casting audio, Malmus and all that kind of thing. And so yeah, Xavier just confirmed that we will have some. Do you also confirm that we'll have battle clips, the you suck or it's battle?
More than in the first game.
More than the first
game. As you play a little family, you will also have very personal
clips.
Banter.
Okay. Are you Gorham? No, I think Gorham is back on the first game. Yeah, she's in the.
Who's that question directed to?
I don't know, but it's I saw a lot of players like Gordon's Emporium for some reason.
Yeah.
Maybe it's her accent that makes it endearing.
And don't keep this. Yeah, you can still find this beer somewhere.
Don't keep his beer. Oh no, we want to get away from that one. Okay, yeah, there was a question asking. Solasta feels a bit slow at time. Are the animation a bit faster now, and is there a possible fast mode? So there's two questions, right? First question, I think you can already answer.
Yes.
That's Solasta 1. Right?
Yes.
Yeah, but I think Solasta II, like now. Yeah.
We, from the ground up, when we were making a list of things that we wanted to change with Solasta II, along with the multiplayer and the controller by default, we also thought about speed, mostly in battles, as well as battery control. That's not entirely. So animations are much more snappy. Movements in battle are faster. AI reacts faster, and you have a whole system of what we call precasting. When you choose an attack or a spell, your character will already get into position. So when you select your targets, they will all already very quickly just execute the attack of spell.
Yeah.
And so that's going to flow. Same thing with reactions like opportunity attacks. We try to not slow down the flow as much as we did before with more reactive UI. And so basically, yes, we are aiming at having something much faster. Regarding the fast mode, where you can press a button and make the game go faster, as in Solasta 1, we're still looking at options which would maybe allow us to do things, but the engine is very different. And the way things work, it can be a hassle to do that, so we can't promise that we'll make it in, but hopefully we won't have to because the battle is fast enough.
Yeah. So there's Infantrum. So we got people also from the RPG Goddess. So yeah. So basically, remember, guys, one of the questions that we might see sometimes, like, oh, this wasn't Solasta 1, why is it not in Solasta 2? We have switched from Unity to Unreal Engine 5. So there's a lot of things that it allows us to do, but it also makes some of the things a bit more complicated, right? A lot more complicated, yes.
All of it.
It's more powerful, but everything is more complex.
I remember one of the point was, especially something visible that we had discussed early on, was the minimap, right? Because like when we had Solasta 1 minimap, when you open, it looked like a map and it was kind of cool. And 3D and all that kind of thing. And when Solasta 2 we were working on the demo and I was looking at the minimap, I was like, hey, why don't we do like in Solasta 1? It was really cool. And then we were told,
3 people and 1 year.
yeah.
Everything is possible with Go. It's just a matter of time and effort.
And this one was much more
But
difficult.
If it's the last thing which the community does not enjoy, then maybe we can have a hard look at it to improve it. There was a question about the C class.
Yes.
What I just wanted to say about being able to play C class is when we created the Rolas character for the demo, we burnt a few bridges in the way it was designed and conceived.
Yeah.
So,
Jabori,
sorry. Jabori, the C class character, PC. So we burnt the bridges. It's not saying that if or when it's going to be in the game, but since we proposed it in the survey, it could be an option, but anyway, we changed it so that it could be possible if we wanted to do it.
Yeah, so Jabroni, like people like to call them. They love to call him Jabroni. So Jabroni, as those who play the demo know, there's kind of like we have this specific species that is native to the Neokos, which they are kind of like stone-based characters, and it was at first was only meant to be NPCs, right? You couldn't play them. Like Mathieu said, we're trying to see if they could be made into player characters, but it's one of the more complex ones, right? If you do a human and then you do an elf, it's actually not that hard to do the two different, ancestries. But when you start adding something like a Dragonborn, that's a complex change, right? And basically,
all the clothing and armors have to fit on it,
and the head as well. The head shape is not the same. So it's the same for the Subclasses. If we do want to adapt them to player characters, it's going to take a lot of time and much more time than if we wanted to add like a gnome or something like that, right?
I'm not talking about story.
And I'm not talking about story, yeah, story reason as well. So, I did see a question going around. Let's see.
Thorax coming back.
Don't have enough of Sorax.
Yeah, I think we had enough Storex for a while, right? So there's never say never. We might have Storex at some point, but it's like we don't necessarily want to have Storex as the big bads for Solasta II. That would be a little bit too much, right?
Are Cyclas the Genasi of Solasta? No, I don't think so.
No.
Because Genasi are really distinctly humanoid.
They're elementals, like, right? Half elementals.
Yeah, very looking like humans.
Yeah.
Cyclas are really something new and different.
Stone magic and soul.
Yeah, basically, Cyclas are like a native ancestry. It's more like, if we're talking about orcs or, another race. And actually, I was thinking, we have talked quite a bit, and we are ready to show you guys a few things that we've been working on. The first thing that we have already mentioned in the past, but we have never shown, and we are going to give you just a little bit of teasing, and that is the world map. So we have said in the past that we have started working on a world map for traveling around, and that unlike in Solasta I, you would actually be able to move where you want in Solasta II, right? You're not just clicking on a city and having it auto-pathing to there.
Yes.
Matthew, can you give us a little bit more of how we came to the idea of let's make a world map with like hexadecimal traveling?
Well, from my standpoint, when I was playing D&D back in the 80s, 90s, there were many campaigns where you could watch this full-size world map with hexagons and turn types, and you would travel there. The GM would roll for encounters. So I really wanted to recreate this feeling, even though yes, you've seen it in some games. I've even developed games with hexagons in the past.
Mm-hmm.
But anyway, I think the hexagon has the right dimension to define a place and a type of environment and what kind of travel scope you could have. So it was an interesting way to break down the world of the continent of Solasta, or Neokos, sorry, that we wanted to have. So it was the foundation, and then we progressively added ideas and designs and Xavier can add some more elements.
Yes, actually I wanted this for the first game, but it wasn't possible because we were exploring the Badlands, and to me this is exploration. You can go left or right or wherever you want, and you decide if you want to take the risk to cross that dark forest or go into this dangerous place. And the game would offer you a challenge that represents the dangerousness of an area. And this is exactly what we wanted for Neokos, the spirit of discovering this new continent. And what we are really trying to do is that every hex will be interesting to explore, because you'll always find something surprising and new. And even if the main story will take place in less than the hundreds of hexagons of the map, you will want to explore all these places, and that's what makes it very exciting.
I think some smart people on this broadcast are going to see on the image that there's somewhere a hint as to what the map would look like. Just behind Karim. It shows
there's this very small map here. Yeah, true.
Good luck in enhancing that.
So,
yeah,
sorry for the spoiler, but anyway, it's a small size. So.
Work in progress.
But maybe you can just grab a picture and hit the enhance button.
Yeah. Don't encourage them. Guys, don't spoil yourself on
this.
that.
About the warm up, you wanted to say?
Yeah, I wanted to add, in addition to what Xavier was saying, that I think we can talk about scripted encounters rather than random.
Yeah.
Because we in Solasta we had random encounters where you would fight monsters in a procedurally generated fashion, I'd say. And now we're also trying to explore a new dimension where we can script encounters to have something much more tailored, human-made. So you don't always have something that happens and go like, okay, so who am I going to fight now? Maybe it's going to be something more complex, like a group of undead is patrolling in the forest, and You can avoid them, you can stealth, you can move around, there can be some treasures on the side. Basically, we aim at having interesting and fun exploration.
Yes.
Yeah, it's basically, we just saw Noctis asking that question. And Noctis, I know that you're gonna have the answer like in a few seconds, because YouTube has like I think 10-15 second delay. So there is going to be a mix of, we're gonna have random encounters still, because sometimes you go around and that's just like in tabletop, you have like a table, you roll. All right, five bandits just drop by and try to crack your skull. But the thing that enhances that is that it's not only those random encounters. It will also be the possibility from like designers to say, in this tile there's a specific treasure that's hidden. So whenever you go to that tile, you will get this encounter. Or maybe we're going to have like encounters that are kind of chain. If you have encounter B and then you go to encounter C, and you're just like kind of that's just like a small story on its own.
Or maybe only at certain times of the day, or maybe there's some weather conditions. There's no limit to the items we could add to the conditions.
Yeah. So that's like at the moment it's more the realm of possibilities, right? Like we're not saying there will be exactly that because we're doing research. As you can see, like on the screen, what we're doing is researching. Like right now, it's like we are seeing visual research, but we also have a lot of discussions on the side of the design, of the programming, because that's programmation is a French word and doesn't work. But yeah, it's like we're trying to see what we can do in the time we have. So all those kind of things.
One last point, maybe.
Yeah.
The also another reason why we chose hexagon instead of a more static and defined map is that it's easy to edit.
Yeah.
For designers to change where a desert is, you don't have a swamp or mountain instead. Yeah. It's super easy to change. It means we can have a more dynamic creation of Neocos. And maybe later on other edition types, but anyway, it was meant to be simple to edit for the designers in-house, which is something which was harder to do with Solasta II because the map was a bit...
it was already done, right? Like you couldn't really edit it. For those who remember, like when we did like the Dungeon Maker and then Campaign Maker in Solasta I, the only thing we could do was to offer 3 different maps from the main campaign, which was
place cities.
Exactly, the Badlands. So you could add like point of interest, but you couldn't edit the background map. For this one, who knows? Maybe one day we'll have like a Dungeon Maker, Campaign Maker. No promises. Like again, it's still something we have to take a look at. But if at least when and if we do that, we will already have like some modularity on the map that you want to make.
It's a bridge. Which is not burnt.
Which is
a fun thing, if we have time, ideas, and everything, not a promise again, is it also allows us to be able to make dynamic modifications to the map if stuff happens at some point.
Like a new character, what a great idea.
it's easier. So instead of having like map A and then after event map B, which is like all hand drawn, it's more like, okay, well, this area there's been an event and you failed to stop it. Okay, we swap some tiles and now it's like completely ruined or whatever, right? So more dynamic, like Karim was saying. Just to give you guys a clear idea, it's not going to be a pure hex crawl. We're still going to be like having very, very specific like locations where you go to continue the main story. So it's not like completely randomized. It's not like a roguelike or whatever. So there will be random elements, but the story itself will still have like very specific, key points. It's still like a tactical RPG, and the RPG part is still very, very strong. Then I also saw some questions. So first of all, Barra's saying random encounters can also be roaming merchants, etc. Yes. So Solasta I, we only had combat encounters. In Solasta II, we are also adding events like skill checks, NPCs to meet, merchants, all that kind of thing. So it should allow you for more variety on moving around, not just getting fight after fight, right? And another question I see is like underwater combat. Have you thought about it? I think we did, right?
A lot.
We thought about it a lot, but
I think what we call advanced locomotions in the game. Some of these interactions when you get to swim in the demo of Solasta II, it's an elegant way to introduce these blockers, where you must have this spell or this ability, this item to pass through. So it makes you feel like you have this kind of interaction, but no, fighting underwater for now, it's too complex. But DLC.
It's very fast. Yeah, it's like it's the underwater level, like in Mario. Everything is slow. The music is. No. Question for I think character creation.
Yes.
Will we have a way to roll?
I'm a bit biased about that because I used to love rolling dice back in the day in some video games where I was rolling for 2 hours until I got the perfect characters. I know you've done that too.
Yeah, we all have.
Okay. What I discovered, and actually Emil pinpointed it to us, is that some of the classes, like the monk, the barbarian, or the subclass of the mage, the dancer, the bladesinger.
The bladesinger, but we don't have
We
bladesinger.
don't have that.
Yeah.
These type of classes, when you have too high stats everywhere, it's completely imbalanced. It's meant to have a proper balance of ability scores. That being said, if people want to have rolling dice and have unbalanced characters,
I mean, it's a single player game.
Yeah.
I mean, co-op game at the end of the day.
But what we were working on at first is the point system, the pre-rolled abilities, because it's the experience that it's meant to be right now. But again, roll dice. Okay, sure.
Yeah, it's basically like a difficulty option at this point, right? It's it's meant to be doing point buy, but if you guys want to go ahead and roll for 18 everywhere, have fun doing it, right?
Yeah, it's your game. You paid for it. So.
You paid for it, exactly. You paid for it, so we're not gonna take it from your hand and say no, don't play it like this.
We may just be more warnings or information.
Yeah.
Because some people may just don't know that it can impact the rest of the game a lot.
Yeah, there's what we're gonna do, be careful.
Recommended option.
Yeah, recommended.
But some people like to unbalance the game.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I love to do that. I will do that anyway. I don't have 216 at least.
Must have high strength.
We're not judging.
Yeah.
That's the way it is.
Question for Xavier. I see someone asking, how open or railroaded is the story compared to Solasta 1? Is it more open with a bit more variety? I think you can answer that, right?
But I think I would say if you play the Lost Valley, it's the kind of spirit we want in terms of the openness of the game. But this time it's planned ahead and it won't break all the time.
Yes. Huge promise right now.
No, I know.
Hopefully.
It was a great opportunity to test some things, and I'm there to say this time we're doing it right.
Yeah.
And there is a very strong main story, and a lot of things that you can decide to do or not to do with various factions and change a lot of what happens in the game. So much less railroad.
Also, we did some technical changes before we were really scripting the stories. Now we have this knowledge base where all the information of the world is stored, and then quests and adventures can react to what you did in different places.
That was one of the main advantages of changing the engine, is that we got to recreate everything, which was expensive, but allowed us to prepare for the crazy ideas designers had in Solasta 1 that was hard to do. So we have a whole lot of tools to hopefully make it a bit more fluid.
Yeah. For a reminder, because I know some people might be like, oh yeah, but the Lost Valley the DLC was one of the messier ones. Yeah, because the Lost Valley DLC was us experimenting with this new approach to, being more open, being allowing you to do whatever you wanted to do with different factions. So of course it was a little bit more messy than we hoped for, but now it's we've learned from that because we have actually tested it throughout, and we have we have lived the limitation and the problems. Now we know what to expect.
Because I have a lot of personal testimonies of it was great until it broke because I did 10 crazy things that didn't have any relation with and the game because it wasn't made to accommodate so much differences. And now you can do if you kill one character, it will never affect something else. It works. So if you decide to do something that doesn't make any sense, just to see if the game breaks, it won't.
Hopefully.
Right? Hopefully.
Hopefully.
That's in your hands now.
Yeah. Let's see. So, question. Okay, so now that we already talked about this quickly. Because there's a lot of questions, so I'm just like scrolling through them, trying to pick up a few. Okay. So, question is for Xavier. Does the demo protagonist survive?
Oh, that's funny. The same question we had for the demo of Solasta. They came back in the second DLC here for the demo. They are not planned to be characters of the game, of the final game. But again, they could appear as cameos or
As a reminder, it's a bit different from Solasta 1 and Solasta 2 for the demo. Solasta 1 was a different party of adventurers. Solasta 2, in the demo, you're technically playing the heroes of Solasta 2, the main campaign. It's just like an alternate kind of world or version. So it's like, that is something that could happen, but it's not, you're not going to meet them because they're kind of your alter ego. There we go. Let's see. So, a lot of thank you very much for the kind comments. Speaking of quests, would there ever be community contests for quests to add to the game? I can answer that one because I'm the one who's designed the community contest. Quests, and I think Xavier's gonna say that it's absolutely true, is quests are very complex to add to the game, especially when you don't have the tools in hand to know what you can or cannot do. We have entertained the idea in the past, and we've always thought that basically, unless we came in and said in the contest, there's just exactly all of the things you cannot do, which is like a huge list or a list of things you can do, it wouldn't really be interesting because it would really limit creativity. So making quests out of a community contest is probably not going to be something that we'll do, but we have considered, and we're probably going to do in the future during early access, some contests to design word map events, because those are a little bit more easy to make, a little bit more scripted, so we can explain it much simpler. And we hope that in the future, if we have the time, we can add a lot of them so that it adds a lot of variety to the world and a lot of creativity as well, because like with different creators, they all have their own little way of saying things, writing and all that kind of thing. So there are games out there that have already done that. Notably, I'm thinking about Wildermyth, which was a very nice game like that. And I also saw recently, I replayed like another game, and I forgot the name because I'm an idiot and I'm very forgetful. But there was a game as well where every time there was an event that was written by someone, that would be like on the title card of the event, being like, oh, written by someone else, right? Let's see. Hide, helmet, or headgear option.
Yeah, we maybe not for early access day one, but we want to have that a lot because we're making a lot of changes to the cutscene system since Solasta 1, and a lot of love is going into it. So if you don't see the head of the characters talking to each other, it's going to be painful.
Questions for skills offered by backgrounds. Have you considered giving the players more flexible skill choices to make party creation easier to manage? Mathieu, I think we're very, very faithful to the rules, right, on that one. It's like...
Yes, I don't think it's suggestions, I think it's imposed. But the thing is, the character creator is meant in a way that if you already selected your class skills, and then you select a background which collides with the class skills, then it's going to invalidate your colliding class skills, so you have to select again the ones which fit. And basically also we have a system for quick creation where it automatically selects the best adaptive skills, etc. by spending everything. Yes?
But maybe it's something that came up in my campaigns. It's about the custom backgrounds. You have specific rules in the DM's guide, I think, to create that lots of players want, at least in my games. I don't know if we have
could be an option in the future that we can think about.
I'm not
right?
even sure if we
Something
can do something like that, but
Okay.
at least if it's important, I guess it could be considered.
Yes.
But we could think about that. It's not going to be for early access at least, but
Yes.
yeah. But again, if anything you see during early access that you would want that we don't have or stuff like that, again, early access is there for that. You let us know. We take a look at how many people are actually very, very excited about some things, and then we choose. Because again, we have like a limited amount of time, and then we go. Would we rather add A or B or C? Right? We cannot add everything, but the things that people are very passionate about, usually we're not just going to say, okay, well, whatever, right? Like, if we cannot do something, usually we'll tell you. We're like, okay, this is just way too complicated. For example, if someone said, I want to do underwater combat, and we have already scoped underwater combat, we know that for 1.0 that is absolutely not possible, then we would just come back to say, hey, I know you guys really want underwater combat, but it doesn't fit, right? Like, the bag is only that big. We cannot fit like this whole piano inside it. Okay, let's see. Other questions? Oh yeah, that's actually something that I mentioned as well during a sprint review. Someone said, hey, in the original Solasta, the Warlock starting robe was really cool, but very quickly I got something better. So I couldn't like wear the starting robe anymore. Could we reuse the starting equipment, assets?
Now we had this discussion, yes.
So we're probably going to reuse some for like the magic armor or something, right?
I think we need to discuss that. I mean, technically it's possible if you want to wear this powerful armor but look cool. Again, if you want to do that, I don't really mind. It's what you
Oh yeah, we have.
I think we are planning much more. I want to say freedom in the way your characters look from character creation. I saw earlier a question about having custom color schemes or stuff like that. It's not something we can promise, but it's something everyone in the team likes
thinking about. Yeah,
thinking about, because the characters look cool, the world looks cool. So if you want to make fashion design, I say, on your characters, I hope we'll be able to give you a way to do that.
Okay, let's keep on going because I'm seeing messages from 5 minutes ago by scrolling around. Has housing ever been something tested? I know. We've never tested player housing. We're not an MMO. I think we have talked very briefly about like not in the early access, but in the future, also possibly like doing a player camp or something like that, right? I don't know. I think we might have, but maybe not. But it's not going to be in early access. Like it's stuff like we're still thinking about, right? So
I think Dad doesn't want us to speak about it.
yeah, maybe not. Okay. Player design quests don't really work. Pillar Eternity is a good example of this. Many NPC in the game are done by backers. They're not interested. Well, I mean, like we've also done some stuff like backers as well in the past, right? And it's not necessarily because it's interesting. It's also as a way to thank them. So, we'll stay with the rule as written rules of 2024 or just a loose adaptation? Well, hopefully we are rule as written for most of it. Like again, there's might be some adjustment, but that's one of the point of Solasta. We've always tried to be very, very close to the rules. Oh yeah, so Jim is saying transmogrified option. That's basically what you're saying. Like we're trying to see if that's possible.
I think I can add a bit more on that. There are tiers of complexity. Changing the colors of equipment is easier than changing the whole look of transmogrification, which is even simpler than changing the way your character looks. But we still have everything in mind, and we're going to see what we can do in the future.
I see a question from Shadow Chaser saying, will you have guidance for which skill is going to be the most useful in the campaign, like in Solasta 1, or rather, which skill will not be useful? So, I think, Xavier, you wanted to make all the skills important in Solasta 2, right?
Well, are we talking about Which one?
I think because I think you remember in Solasta 1, the skills, there's like animal handling, you would never use it and stuff like that. But in Solasta 2, we're trying to make a use of most of the skills, right? Oh,
Yes, we
not all.
can. We spoke about the events when you travel. So when it's still out of the 3D game, but you can say that you're gonna help an animal or do some performance that maybe you wouldn't be able to do in combat 3D game. But still, it is difficult to use some of them. Yes, very often.
For example, perception, you're always going to be using it, right? Because it's something that's very core to the game. But it's true that some interactions are harder to use, but we still want to make a use of them. So we cannot really guide you as to say, hey, these are actually the ones that you want all the time. But we do have in plan for people who are new to the game and stuff like that, like recommendations. So for example, you play, I don't know, like a ranger, it's probably going to give you like perception, survival, those like ranger skills. Origin ability is not even on background. That's a surprise. Use it by defaulting. Let's see. When do we get to know things about the story? I think during early access, or maybe just right before we're starting to introduce the story. But we're not gonna be. With the SRD, there is a Druid Magic Initiate, but no backgrounds that give it. At the moment, there's no Druid Magic Initiate backgrounds because we don't have the Druid in early access.
No, I did not create the Druid Magic Initiate version, but you could imagine that a human player can choose an origin feast. And could become a Druid Initiate.
But
maybe we want to add one of our backgrounds.
For 1.0, it was the plan to think about that. For the moment, the only thing is that because Druids and Druid spells are not in early access, if you took that feat, you wouldn't be able to select anything, so it wouldn't make sense. How did Baldur's Gate 3 success affect Solasta 2's development? Well, in a very positive way, because when you have games like that, it brings a lot of interest to the genre. And people are not like just going to be, I'm only eating that, right? When you have a lot of like different type of food, that people like to like try out different things. So it's been a very, very huge boon, the BG3 success, because we basically also enjoy that, those people who are now interested in these type of games go like, oh, what other game is there and that exists that could feel like BG3 as well. Again, we're different from BG3. It's not because we both use D&D, but remember that BG3 is very much on the storytelling, the characters, the cinematics. They even at some point called CRPG as Cinematic RPG, if I remember. That's like one of their appellation of their game. Whereas we're very much tactical RPG, so combat and tactical aspect of it is still very much the key. Even though we have improved a lot on story, cutscenes, voice acting as well, we have put a lot of budget and effort in it to make it a little bit better than Solasta 1, or not just a little bit, much better than Solasta 1. These two guys just came back from a mocap session where they were swimming around and doing a whole lot of things. Killing each other, pretending to be people talking to each other, so that our animation also look a little bit more natural and also more varied. Because in Solasta 1 we had a very limited set of animations, so we would often have characters doing the shoulder thing or the.
I think in Solasta 1 we had 50 or 70 dialogue animations.
Yeah. So
right now maybe have 2,000-3,000.
Yeah. Not all of them are going to be usable, but that's.
You shouldn't be able to.
Yeah.
To see.
So that basically means that you're going to have more variety, and hopefully not all the NPCs will be doing the same movements like that exactly.
There's a question about sound.
Yeah. What was it?
We will support surround sound.
It was on the question list. When we worked on audio, it's not a priority because it's a lot of work to do and something we may want to explore, but not for early access.
Yeah.
Someone's complaining about the audio.
Yeah, but that's again, we don't have those little handy little mics, So we only have one mic, 4 people, a gigantic like room with no sound blockers. So there's gonna be echo. Yeah, it does sound a little bit like a bathroom, but hey, at least you hear us enough to say that. So that's a good point. All right. So yeah, okay. So someone asked. In Solasta 1, characters with bad skill values would often be forced to do checks instead of a party member with better skill value. We just answered that in the few minutes ago, where we said that there was a change in that, where now one character can have more than one dialogue option, so that you don't have like he was already picked for persuasion. Then who else have intimidation? Oh, you have +8, you have -2. Well, you're still going to be the one using intimidation.
And as Xavier said, to prevent the paladin to all the checks, some other characters will probably
So
have
you could custom edit a character in character creation with one character with all the ability scores at 18 or 20,
and they only
and
have
the others
top.
being losers, and you will get all the dialogue options.
No, because one of the things that they just said is there will also be options based on classes, subclasses, proficiency, stuff like that. So hopefully that should also alleviate the issue a little bit. Are you going to be doing unique subclasses like the hoodlum? Yes. So what?
Actually, in the demo of Solasta II, you had the
scavenger
subclass for the rogue and the liberation paladin.
Yes.
And,
we haven't revealed the others, so
they're good candidates to stay in the game.
Yeah.
And actually, they were cool, and so I think they should stay.
Yeah.
But maybe the idea is to do a mix and match of new stuff and classic stuff that people love. So.
As a reminder, for Solasta 2, we've already announced that we would take one subclass from Solasta 1 and one new subclass that we have for Neoclass for every class. The only exception at the moment being the cleric, because the cleric has already a lot of different domains that are kind of story related, and a lot of people like the battle cleric. So battle cleric is one of the one we're looking at to come back. Will we have a ranger class with animal companion in the second game? Oof, that's a little bit of a loaded question.
Companions are very hard to do right because of the amount of animations they need to get. Basically, we're trying to have a world that's very organic, I want to say, with lots of things to do: climb, jump, drop, swim. So if you walk around with a companion, they need to be able to follow you. In Solast, I think we cheated because you were able to just summon your companion back to you.
With a kindred spirit.
So it's not something we cannot do, but if we do it, there will probably be limitations.
Yes.
And I have a memory blank whether the ranger with the pet, maybe it's PHP, not SRD again.
Oh no, the beast ranger is not available, so we cannot do the beast ranger.
So it's always tricky to do a ranger with a beast.
Yeah, as usual, right? But it's there's several different ranger subclasses with beast, right? There's the beastmaster, but there was also the one with the drake or stuff like that. So I think there's if we wanted to do, we could find a way to do it. The design space exists, but the problem, like you said, is comparatively to human companions, like humanoid have already a lot of animations because player characters are humanoid, right? So they can climb, follow you. But if you have a wolf and the wolf is at the base of the cliff, and you're well, he's stuck.
And that's the same constraint we have on monsters, but we can choose where we place monsters to avoid the.
What about languages? Will there be a knowledge of certain languages that will affect the story? So that's language proficiency. I think, Xavier, you wanted to, but at some point it was kind of difficult.
The issue is always the same. If you don't have the language in your party, then how do you do things? So they can be used for secondary content, but they can be critical to your experience.
Yeah.
So it's kind of the same problem, and I don't think it's something we want to put a lot of effort to make language super useful more than in the first game.
Also, you cannot get additional language proficiency. I mean, you can do comprehend language and stuff like that, but it's still kind of a hassle. Okay, so is there any 2024 rule that you cannot just implement? That might be a little bit of a difficult question to think about.
There's going to be a few minor adaptations, but
Yeah.
for them, because it could be, it would not be practical in terms of gameplay, but otherwise we'll do our best to make it as faithful as possible.
What about the music in Solasta II? The first one in the first one, the music was amazing. It's still the same composer, right?
Yes.
So we're gonna have him back.
Yes, actually, he's been started working for some time on the score,
Yeah.
and we received exciting music tracks recently. So
Yeah, I think you even put them on the studio
speaker.
speaker at some
Opinions.
point. Yeah. I was doing tests for the stream last Friday, and I started hearing music, and I was like, "What is this?" So we were working on that, or I mean, he's working on that. We're listening. Okay. Aside from the characters we create for the party, will there be potential companions we can recruit? Is that it?
Yes, plenty of companions you can recruit. They can become your friends and stay with you, level up, and stay away from the party for some time. You can go back to get them again in your party if you need.
Small caveat: they level up, but they don't have player characters
Yes.
classes. They have their own specific, NPC
They're
classes.
still NPCs,
Yeah.
so they do their own thing. You want them to become a sorcerer, but they don't want. They will become what they want to,
Yeah.
and you don't control that.
You don't also manage their inventory,
They're
right?
your friend. You choose.
Yeah.
You want to be friends with them. You don't tell them what to do.
Okay. So yeah, you can. Can you play with less than 4 party members? I do not believe so. Right? It's always been like that. Solasta is the
Yes.
adventure of a party. So we are not playing just one main character with friends. We're playing a group of 4. Even more so in Solasta 2 because of the family
The group
implication.
is your character and it's
Yeah.
a family.
And all dialogues would basically break because you
Oh, true,
have
true.
one character talking to themselves.
Yeah, true, because there's banter inside the party a lot. What is the scope of the early access version? So it's part of Act 1, level 4 maximum, and it's like 15 to 20 hours of gameplay, right?
It should be that.
Should be around that. Okay. Warlock spells. Wait, what? Only problem I have with 2024 Ruleset is they changed the Warlock spells slot to be long rest only? No, I don't think so, right?
Someone's in that.
Yeah.
So
Just pick up the Warlock spells. As far as I know, they turned that back to short rest.
Come on, you're right, Mathieu, to keep your book at hand.
Yeah. So how does pact magic work? Okay, while he's looking, I'm scrolling a bit more. Yeah. Okay. So other people are already saying that that's not true. Also, I don't understand with Unreal Engine, the most advanced engine for games, can produce a dungeon maker for Solasta 2. No, it's not necessarily that it can. It's also because when an engine is more complex, it's also more complex to make things usable by anyone, right?
Yeah, and another thing is that it's very powerful, but it needs to pre-compute a lot of things. So when we work on the game, we have computers computing like the minimaps and the navigation system, and everything is done before we ship the game. And so with the dungeon maker, the issue is that a player can create anything, and so when can you pre-compute the necessary data to make it run? That's more the issue we're facing.
Okay. All right. So Mathieu, you have checked that it's short rest, right?
Yes, the sentence is a bit. Actually, I've not started working on the 24 Warlock. You regain all expended pact magic spell slots when you finish a short or long rest.
Okay. Well, we're good now.
But pact magic is the actual spellcasting for the Warlock, so it's good.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. It was just during the playtest apparently that they did explore. You remember there was one moment where they also put the Warlock into int class, and there was like a bit of back and forth. I actually like the Warlock being in class because there's like too many charisma casters. All right. We are going to be also sorry about people like I'm gonna just scroll past the questions because like I have too much delay there. We're gonna show you another thing that we haven't showed yet. Okay, well, first of all, that's another asset for the the world map. Sorry, I think my screen is also kind of like delayed now, so I'm just gonna refresh as well, restream. Yeah, it is.
I guess what we want to achieve, obviously, is that even though it's an hexagonal map,
Yeah, it's
with discrete definition of biomes and events and cities and roads, we still want to make it look good.
yeah, it doesn't
As
so it doesn't
natural
feel
and
yeah. So it doesn't feel fragmented. But more than that, we're going to show you a few creatures, something that we have never shown before, which are creatures from Solasta II. And the first one that we're going to be showing is the Sand Lion. So, Xavier, Sand Lion, give us a little bit of context. What is this creature? Where does it come from? Where does it go?
Well, it is mostly in the deserts of Neokos, but not only. And they're kind of lions, but with poisonous spiked tails. And they're very dangerous for the populations. They're known to take children from wandering tribes, and they're very bad guys. But at the same time, they're so powerful, and that a lot of people use them as emblems or nicknames for many things.
They're also hunting in packs. They also have like very, very leathery skin, so the elder versions are very hard to take down. And they actually one of the things that you have to keep in mind as well is that this is the size of a human compared to the size of a normal sand lion. We're not talking about the big ones. So you can imagine that when the pack of that actually roams to prowl on your children, you are not in a good spot. So those are more bestial creatures that one, like Thierry, our art director, told me to share as information is that one aspect of the creatures in Solasta II that he wanted to push was the more bestial approach. Like they're much more aggressive in design. They're much more exotic, which is why we have accentuated some of the aspects like the spikes or the long teeth and everything. Primal, exactly, more primal. And you can see here with the running animation where they're like running toward you and probably about to like bite your head off.
So go ahead and pet that.
Yeah, go ahead and pet that. They are more monsters than, let's say, animals at this point. If not friend shaped, well, wow.
There are spikes.
There's spikes. And it wouldn't be fair to just leave you guys with this. We also wanted to give fans of D&D another creature that's a lot more, iconic and recognizable. And that is this beast over there. Can anyone in the chat, and we'll have to wait because there's a bit of delay, can anyone in the chat tell us what beast that is?
Not a crab.
It's not a crab. It's not a crab. Oh yes, alright, we have seen this. So Chunky, it is the basilisk, yes. So the big basilisk with its paralyzing power, not paralyzing, petrifying gaze and all that. So this is this first draft that turned into this big beast over there that is going to be lurking in the mountains and the caves, and that's going to be very, very scary for adventurers because if you get petrified, that's death in our game. So we're still trying to see if we can do like the full petrification or if it's just going to be like a death condition and you're just going to die because, again, there's small difficulty in that. And he is a big chunk. And then you have it inside the game, looking like this. So again, a very, very primal looking with leather skin, a fat Sarek that's a chunky basilisk. Yes, boy be chunky because boy be eating well. A lot of adventures. Yeah. Good diet when you're in an island filled with people traveling around.
Basilisk petrifies the target. How do they eat them? They eat rocks.
I think there was lore about that, saying that they actually can eat rocks.
They could depetrify and eat, I think.
Oh, maybe. Okay, yeah, they're kind of like a spider who's like unwinding it. And we're going to even show you something which is not just an image, but the video of the petrifying gaze. So this is our VFX artist working on the effect and who shared that to us. So we will have this little creatures there trying to turn you guys into stone. Alright, and with that we have shown everything we wanted to show. There we go, so we're just going to go back to our screen with like a lot of people because like I was talking with questions but we were still on the small screen. So there we go. Oh, we have Wolfhard FPS dropping by apparently. Hello, hello.
Hello.
Thank you for all the love that you've shown us so far with all the videos of Solasta I and Solasta II. So yeah. That one looked more like Jabba the Hutt. Jabba the Hutt has I think the arms are much smaller and his head is also much more like. Wait, snail? No.
Sure, let's put Jabba in the game, but could possibly.
There you go, 2 people. DC is just gonna come in with the baseball bats and just like break our kneecaps. No, it's not gonna attack 6 or 8. It's not the Merilith. The Merilith that we had in Palace of Ice. This girl hit a lot, and it was very, very hurtful. Do you guys have an idea of what Termar is like concurrently in the timeline? We have our ideas. We're not gonna spoil anything, but we do have our ideas.
We think a lot about Tiamat.
Yes.
Whole world lost to the Sorax.
Yeah. Okay, so let's see. Now that we have shown a lot of like the little art, we are going to back to answering more questions. Who is the artist? So I think for concept arts, very often it's either our director or some of the concept artists that we contract.
Yeah.
Usually Thierry or our director will do like a mood board and give direction, be like, okay, this is what we are looking for, and then there's a back and forth. They send versions, we send like corrections, like, oh, we want more like more primal looking, or this is too aggressive, or maybe more mellowed out, and then
we try to stick to the same partners.
Yes, exactly.
To build a relationship, to understand each other, but sometimes you have a completely different style, type of creatures, and you have to look elsewhere to find the right concept artist.
Okay. All right. So if you guys want to ask more questions, now is the time because we have a little bit more time at hand. We have like 30 minutes left. So now we are basically open to all of the other questions. Jabba is more like a Yuan-Ti or my lord. I think Yuan-Tis are a little bit fairer than Jabba. If you see a Yuan-Ti like Jabba, he's probably just lying about his species. Bonjour les amis, bonjour. Take a look again at the Ask Dev channel and Discord. Okay, well maybe we can. Okay, is there a plan for another demo? No, we're going full speed on the early access. Are you guys doing turn-based at the same time with units that possess same initiative like BG3 to make it move faster? No, I don't think so, right? We don't have like horde movement.
No, we discussed it, but it's not really in the plans.
No, it's.
And I think that the way AI is done, it would make sense for each creature to have its own behavior and want to target a different character, maybe.
Yeah, the issue is when you have stuff like pack tactics and the second monster to play should go next to the first, so if they decided
all at the same time,
you wouldn't get very smart behavior. That's often why only some monsters have that behavior in games, not in the plans.
Yeah. And again, we're trying to stick close to tabletop experience. Usually you just play the monster one after the other. We do understand that it can be slow, so usually we're trying to avoid encounters with like billions of mobs because we have learned from Solasta I that sometimes like, okay, when do I play? And we don't want that, right? Will there be a demo update? No, like we said before, full-on early access. In the SRD, the only feed is Grappler. No,
in the only general feed.
Exactly. So in the SRD 5.2, which is for 2024, they have added a lot of origin feeds, like 4. So we are going to be planning to add
the number of general feeds.
Yeah,
it's meager.
It's meager.
When you go to level 4, you have that many options. So
we will add more. We'll add more. We have done so in Solasta 1. probably going to be reusing a few of them that were popular, looking at the one that were less popular, and probably going to buff them a bit. Some of them might be even turned into origin feats. I think I already did that. Some of them taking the origin feats taking the feats that were less powerful and putting it into like an origin feats. Favorite
reactions definitely
yes.
the plan. We know when it's coming, but
Yeah.
just going to do it.
Ready action is one of the actual features that is in survey about like priority, like what is the level of priority you guys want. We know we were going to do it. The question is more like when. It's like because right now it's not planned for the launch of early access because it's actually pretty hard to put it in compared to like all the things that we want to do. Did you answer about multiplayer servers using Photom or something else? Yes.
It was used for Solasta 1. It's not what we plan to use for Solasta 2 at the moment.
Solasta 2 is using.
For now, we are using Epic Online Services, but without an account, so we don't have to create an Epic Ruleset because it comes with the engine and it's just less work for us. And we'll evaluate how that goes. If we need to resort to using a third-party solution at some point, we'll consider it.
So the plan is normally to release multiplayer at some point during early access, so not at the start, but there will be an update hopefully with multiplayer. So you will be able to like try it out at this moment, and hopefully it should be working pretty well because, like Karim said, a lot of games on Unreal are using the Unreal services for that, and there's no reason why it shouldn't be working well or better than Photon as well, apparently, because quite a few people have been like not too much of a fan of Photon. Will higher level subclasses features be stronger than in Solasta 1? A lot of classes had kind of meh higher level features. This is actually kind of difficult to say because, first of all, right now the limit is level 10. So you don't really go very far. Usually that's just the second feature for the subclass. Hopefully we want to give them a little bit more peps when some are lacking because we did receive feedback, especially after Palace of Ice came out. We knew because like some people are doing very nice tier list out there. Special shout out to Counter YOLO who's doing that. And usually they explain why they think some things are less powerful than others. And you know, you can agree or disagree, but like very often the base analysis is interesting enough so that we can ask ourselves, okay, so at least this is the perceived feeling of power. So you know, now we will have more data to track as well. So we might be able to see if some like subclasses are very, very rarely picked, and maybe we can say, okay, well, if this subclass no one picks it, there might be a reason. Maybe we want to like tune it up a bit. I can't run the demo because of Unreal issues. Oh, that's a shame. I wouldn't be able to tell you why though, because it's kind of complicated. And also remember, we are not the developers of Unreal Engine. Some bugs we can fix because of the fact that it's us, like it's our game having an issue. Some bugs sometimes are like engine related. We had that as well in Unity, where some crashes were just because of the engine Unity, and we cannot like change Unity because we're not the Unity devs. So Unreal also have some of those issues sometimes. Okay, any timeline for early access? No, 2025. I really like the orc appearance from the first Solasta. Will look way more savage than most of the recent RPGs. We don't really know if we have orcs in Solasta 2 right now, right? They're not planned as monsters at least. Not for now. Is there in the survey? There's a Forgotten Realm reference. Will you contact Wizard for partnership? That's like basically an option. That's why we're doing a survey. It's like, are people interested in having adventures in Forgotten Realm? Because that could be very cool, right? So we want to know what you guys, our players, think about it. Will you have difficulty levels for the main campaigns? Yes.
Oh, yeah.
Difficult settings, absolutely. During early access, maybe? No? Yes?
I'm not sure if it will make it in.
Okay.
Because it doesn't prevent from playing the game, but we do plan on having the same kind of options you had in Solasta 1. If you play the game, if you haven't, it's the time to check it out.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's quite customizable.
Yeah. So you'll be able to like change a lot of different sliders and stuff so that you can craft your own experience. Is the game focused more on combat than exploration and social encounters? So yeah, we want to have more social encounters and choices than in Solasta 2, than in Solasta 1. But at its core, we are a tactical RPG. So that means there's still going to be a large focus on combat. There's also going to be more exploration now that we have the world map, so that's also one of the points. But we cannot say, hey, well, it's not. Remember, it's not Baldur's Gate 3. Like the focus is not necessarily completely on the cinematics, the characters, the story, and all that kind of thing. There's going to be a lot of combat, a lot of interesting combat encounters. Hey, yo, Maximus, how's it going? Good to see familiar faces there. Questions: are original spells going to come back? Yes, we will have some homebrew spells. Usually, the reason why we added them was because some of the levels had a bit of scarcity in terms of spells, so you couldn't really for example, level 4 cleric is always an issue because you have I think 4 or 5 spells only, with others being not very suited for Solasta because they're role play spells and stuff that you cannot use really. So that's also why you'll see that in Solasta II there might be a few more cantrips for the clerics because because of the magic initiate cleric, meaning that if you add all of these, you still need to have cantrips you can select. So Mathieu came to me and be like, more cantrip please.
Yeah, and maybe malediction.
Yeah.
Because the replacement for Hex, which was not SRD at the time,
will be removed.
Hex is SRD, so there's no point.
There will be some spells, homebrew spells, that move away. So, for example, like Mathieu said, Hex just going back to replace Malediction. But also we had some spells that were very Solasta 1, for example, Sparkle, where you used to be lighting up the different torches. Solasta 2 has a different approach to light, so there's no reason to do that. And same, I think we had one spell that was called Shine that you would light an enemy. Now there is something called I think Starry Burst or something like that, which is SRD cantrip, Starry Wisp. So that does damage and does the same thing. So we just decided to use the SRD spell instead. Okay. Will Ready Action be able to lend multiple attack after Norja class hit level 5? That's not our real. That's not in the rules, so we're not gonna do it. Would like once again to request a feed for crit fishers. Okay, that's good to know. Will there be a chance for Karimilka? Yes, we already said that. To talk their way through. More encounters where there is no combat, but we are able to negotiate with dialogue. Is there something we want to do, or that we have planned to do?
Without going through dialogue, I don't think.
With the dialogue.
Yes.
Yeah. It's are there combats that will be completely avoidable through dialogue?
To avoid the combat?
Yeah.
Well, sure, yeah.
Okay. Will you have puzzles in Solasta 2 like in Solasta 1? I guess so. Yeah, okay. Oh, they know more about that than I do.
Yeah, and good ones.
Good ones. Okay, well.
I hope so. At least if they're not good,
please let us know. Exactly. Okay. Will there be a Solasta? Yes. So we said there will be homebrew spells. Have you considered partnering with third-party developers? Oh, you mean crossovers? This is Griffin Solda. So basically something hey, item from Clarobscur or whatever, right? And stuff like that. We haven't done that for Solasta 1, but who knows what Solasta 2's future is going to be, right? Because Baguette Sword, yes. But again, we are part of the Kepler family, so it's there might be stuff that might be done here, but it's not the first plan, right? It's we usually want to do or story or game first, and then when the time comes, if you want to do small partnership and stuff like that, why not? A lot of games do that. Some with very big success. I think one that's very well known is Dead Cells. Dead Cells is doing plenty of partnerships with all the different indies. We also have Dave the Divers, who got Godzilla in there and stuff like that. It was pretty crazy. So yeah. Can you continue from early access save game? No, because it's a different story. So
no, early access.
Oh, sorry. Can you continue from early access?
Probably not.
Yeah,
because we'll have to keep the save games because it's going to be too many drastic changes.
Yes. So when we are doing updates, just like in Solasta 1, just like in Baldur's Gate actually, during early access, there are sometimes updates that will break the flow that will change completely the way some things works, and that means that the save will be not usable. So that's also part of the early access. Looking forward to make my Dragonborn and birdinating this countryside. Hopefully we can make Dragonborn now. So no Dragonborn for the early access, just so you know, but it's something that like in the survey you're going to be able to tell us which character you like. I hope you get to do BG 304. Well, talking about Baldur's Gate 4, one of the thing is, again, we're not 800, so I think if we ever were to do Baldur's Gate 4, the scope would have to be revised, because you wouldn't be able to expect something like Baldur's Gate 3++.
The thing is, we're happy to do what we do.
Yes.
With a small team.
Yes.
The humane size. So even though BG4 would be very exciting, it's crazy to even think about it. So.
Yes. Yeah, you have to remember, Mathieu comes from Amplitude Studio, so he did, co-found the studio, get to a point where it was very large, and that he was doing a lot of meetings, and he was very miserable at some point because he wanted to do games. So that's also why he went back to Tactical and founded Tactical Adventures, because Mathieu, that you can see here, he's the one actually coding the classes in 2024. He wants to be coding, not just do CEO work. So, growing to a point where he can no longer do that is not one of the objectives. And we are very much well aware of that. And that means having very specific as well on our, being specific on what we want to do, what we can do.
It's the philosophy of the studio.
Exactly.
We are craftsmen, craft people.
Yeah. We're doing a little craft beer. We're not doing the huge, bottles of those beers you'll find like in supermarkets and everything. Will Solasta II offer more ways to increase or decrease the difficulty besides more AC, HP, like more or less enemies or new tactics or harder variation or harder to... So DC checks we can. DC checks is already in Solasta 1. But more enemies or different AI, I think we already answered, especially AI, right?
Yeah, basically if we do cool tactics, we want people to see them, because it's a lot of effort going into the monsters and the behaviors and the encounters. So it's not something we want to gate behind difficulty settings.
Yeah.
And more monsters means less design control and longer battles. So it's something we're also being careful about. It can lessen the fun. But we do have some deadlier AI behaviors, like they could push you to your death. That's what we had in Solasta.
Hit you when you're
down, or that small adjustments are considered.
Final game will use a more robust version of Unreal.
Yes, we are staying close to Unreal Engine releases for the ones that do follow it.
And every release they improve the stability,
and
performance, and new features.
We are on Unreal 5.5 right now. 5.6 just came out. It's discussion. How long we can keep upgrading the engine, because every time we do, we risk breaking everything.
Question: will Neocos have dinosaurs? Not planned, but could be more, right?
Not planned, but why not?
Dinosaur DLC. Let's go.
It's
Dinosaurs you can ride with lasers and stuff.
Yeah, exactly. Where can I find the survey? I missed that when it was mentioned. So there's two ways to find the survey. One is to go on Steam, and we have like articles, like the new article just came out, and you can just go and on the bottom of the article there's the link to the survey. There's also one on our website. So basically, the website also has the latest news. Or if you're like following us on Twitter and stuff like that, at around like in 40 minutes, I think there will be like a tweet with the survey anyway. So you can take the survey there. It's a very short survey. It's like, I think there's like 6 questions, and it's like drag and drop, like, stuff like that. Will Solasta II maybe have an adventure with plane travels? That's a bit specific. I think we are not going to answer that. Will you guys play the new updated version of Neverwinter Night 2 soon to be released?
Oh.
Wow, there is an update for. We're talking about the old RPG game?
Yeah, the version 2 from Obsidian, I think.
Is there like a new updated version that's coming out? Okay, well I'll have to take a look at this because I played that a long
I
time
played
ago.
it originally as well.
Yeah. Help! I just put very interested for every option in the survey. Well, okay. Okay, well you can do that, and that for some of you that might be true, but it helps when you guys gives us a little bit more priority as to like I prefer that to this. BG3 did a great job at making skill that aren't just charisma checks be useful in social settings. Well, yeah, but you have to remember that BG3 also had 800 people and like I think a good like 50 like writers or something. So when it comes to like making dialogues and writing like writing dialogues and making like skill checks and everything, they have a lot more people that can think about that and make that, right? Like we have 2 writers, I think, 2. Full-time 1?
2.5?
2.5?
Yeah.
Maybe? 1.5, right? So they're mostly working on the quests and the main campaign and everything. So yes, they are trying their best also to add like skill checks and everything. But
Also,
yeah.
the protagonist isn't voiced.
Yes, in Solasta 1 the protagonist isn't voiced. In the Baldur's Gate 3 the protagonist isn't voiced. So it's a bit easier to like make them do a lot of things. For us, whenever we do something in a dialogue, we need to like record that as well.
Multiple times for
Multiple,
each
yeah.
voice types.
Yeah, you have a narrator in BG3, so she's the one narrating everything, which makes it a bit easier than having the I think 6 different voice types right now we have. 4. 2 male, 2 female, right? Okay. To those who are wondering, we also talked about maybe having like variation so that they like. I remember Solasta 1. Some people were a little bit like, oh well, I can't make a full party of like male adventurers or female adventurers without them having twice the same voice.
Yeah.
So to avoid that in Solasta 2, we're gonna be trying to work with the voice to have like different pitch and level.
Still, we haven't confirmed that we can do
Yeah,
it.
yeah,
We're looking into it.
we're doing researches on it. If TA goes beyond the Surdia, we'd love to see them take on the Beholder. Yeah, well, we actually discussed a bit about that, just like out of curiosity with Mathieu. But I think one of the things we kind of came to the conclusion is Beholders are a very, very big beast.
Yeah.
They're very complex to make, and they're also very iconic. So changing the design of a Beholder might not just be like changing the design of a Bulette or a Basilisk, right? Is it a new survey or the one from a month ago? There wasn't a survey from a month ago. We didn't do any survey a month ago. Or there shouldn't be, right? There's nothing I remember about the survey. There was a contest which was using Typeform as well, but it wasn't a survey. So I see like exploding barrels, traps, falling chandeliers. So we will have traps, but we're not going to do Baromancy like in BG3. Baromancy is not something really like D&D. Well, I mean, there is in D&D a lot of creativity, right? So we can't say it's not D&D. It's just we want the combat encounters to be more to the rules, like using your abilities and less about like, okay, well I'm picking the explosive barrels and I'm just putting them to blow my enemies up. Let's see. Okay, 5 more minutes. Original B cantrip was overpowered. Taking down flying enemies was fun as hell. It's 1d4, right? It's like 1d4. They have disadvantage on their concentration check. Is it overpowered? Maybe against flying enemies. That's true. But again, it's not guaranteed. It's not guaranteed. Any chance for flying familiar?
Tricky to do.
It's
It's not implemented right now.
Let's shake the ball. Chances are low.
Yes. What about a familiar like in Pathfinder where it's just like passive bonus? That might be a bit easier to do, but I think. Oh wait, the TV is actually the TV is going into sleep mode. Okay, will we have a cert action to find hidden enemies and invisible enemies? That's true that it is in 2024.
The rules.
It's a new rule, yeah. Do we? Well, I think we have to think about
I
it. Right?
have nightmares in Solasta trying to find the archmage that was using greater invisibility and casting spells on me, and I had to try to run into them, just running back and forth until I could finally attack them. So if it's a new rule, I'd love to put it in.
So for those who might not know, the way it works in Visibility 2024 is if you're invisible, you still have to take the hide action to be like not detected, because technically it's like with the sound people can pinpoint, like guess your position. So we don't know yet if we're going to do that, right? It's just like I'm talking about the rules in particular. So basically people normally when you're invisible but not hidden, they can say where you are and attack you with disadvantage. They can still attack you, you still have like a bonus because you're invisible and you're hard to hit, but normally you shouldn't be like completely, like I don't know where you are and people are unable to do anything. Okay, well, we are going to... Last question? One last question? Do you have
information on how flying works yet?
Yes. Okay, go ahead.
So yeah, we do love flying, and we loved it since Solasta 1. So we'll try our best to make it feel like Solasta 1, with being able to
move around
and go through levels and stay in the air. The only caveat will be during exploration. Now that you move as a group, we still have to figure out how the party will behave if one of them is flying. That's the only thing that may change exploration.
Okay. Alright, I think that's gonna be it. I'm gonna scroll very quickly, but I think like one... So yeah, people are saying BG4, maybe not, but maybe Icewind Dale 3. It's like, oh, Icewind Dale 3? That would be interesting. I did love Icewind Dale. Noted. Matthew's taking notes. It's gonna be like, hello wizard, Icewind Dale 3. Okay, legendary actions. I think there will be legendary actions, right? For those. Yeah. There will be Iron Knight mode, I think, but that's gonna be later, right? Because there's no reason why we wouldn't be able to do that. So that's the rapid fire versions. Anything from the 2014 rule set that you want to keep for the 20... it's hard to say, but...
I have one change that I dislike.
Yes.
The stealth checks that are
against
his DC.
Yeah, so stealth is a bit complicated because even in 2014 version we use our own like way to do it, because it works very, very weird on video game compared to tabletop.
But I'm not saying we want to
we'll have to take a look at it, because right now, if you don't know, in 2024, even if there's no one in the room with you, you cannot stealth unless you pass a DC 15 stealth check. So technically speaking, you would have the rogue just rolling. Oh, I finally got it. I'm stealthy. So it would be kind of like weird, like, okay, well, okay. Okay, I think it's gonna be it for us today. Thank you very much for joining, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So it's gonna be 8 p.m. for us. I hope we answered most of your questions. If not, again, you can drop by the Discord server where we're usually just around. There's even a channel called Ask a Dev, and usually when I have time, I drop by, answer a few questions, I move on. And if I don't answer, sometimes people also some people already got the answer from another stream, so they can just drop by and also answer for me. So yeah, don't worry about it. We're probably gonna do a follow-up article in a week or two with most of the questions put down on paper and answered, so that those who don't necessarily want to scroll through 2 hours of stream, to find the answers, will be able to just read it and be like, okay, well, that's what they're saying about it. So yeah, again, thank you very much for joining today.
Thank you.
Cheers.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Okay, wait a second, and this is the end.